It's another episode of Charleston in Charge. I'm Richie from the class of 2024 and a Broadcast Media 3 student here at GRHS. Today, we'll introduce you to Coach Fitzgerald, one of Glen Rock's favorite phys ed teachers and wrestling coach. In this episode, Dr. Charleston will learn the basics of wrestling and talk to Coach Fitz about what it takes to be a wrestling prodigy. Let's get right into it with everyone's favorite superintendent, Dr. Charleston.
Welcome back to another episode of Charleston in Charge Season 2. In the last episode, I had the opportunity to interview Glen Rock High School art teacher, Miss Nicole Rusin, where she showed me how to make this masterpiece. This is actually going to be a bonsai tree pot eventually. Today, I'll be meeting with 10-year veteran physical education teacher and head wrestling coach, Corey Fitzpatrick, better known to the team as Coach Fitz. As a student athlete, he wrestled for the Comets of Hackensack High School. While competing for the Comets, Fitz posted a career record of 76 and 26. He was a two-time BCCA place winner, a three-time District 7 place winner, and a Region 2 place winner, and was ranked number 1 in North Jersey during his senior year. After high school, he walked on at the Division I University of Northern Iowa and made his way here to Glen Rock. His sense of humor and love for the sport motivate our Glen Rock Panthers. Without further induction, let's jump right into this next episode of Charleston in Charge.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Charleston in Charge. I'm here with really honored guest, Coach Fitzpatrick. Definitely I have lots of favorites, but one of my favorite coaches, just a good person, works really well with our student athletes. Has really built up the wrestling program, and we're sitting here today in a wrestling room that is definitely looks like wrestling down here. It's hot. It's in a basement type of area, so no wonder why our wrestlers are tough when they come out for matches. But I have some questions for you, Coach, if that's okay. I think about going back to when you were a student athlete in high school and college. Like, what does a day look like for a wrestler?
During season, obviously, you get a lot going on in terms of your commitment with, the season, school, things like that. But from a wrestling standpoint, obviously, you wake up, go to school. For me personally, you go to your high school practice. After you have your high school practice, you go home, shower, maybe eat a little bit if you're permitted to, depending on how you weigh down after practice. But typically, I go to club, like a wrestling club, or do like private training with a wrestling coach, probably about 3 times a week. The days I wasn't doing that, usually training on my own in terms of doing weights in the basement or literally running the streets in the winter. But it was a big commitment. Pretty much did 2-a-days all the time, except for we had matches, of course. And even if I had a match, you get a forfeit or a quick pin, you feel like you have to get a workout in afterwards. But yeah, generally, school, practice, come home, and then usually go and train. And some of the teammates were involved with that as well. We had a good culture of kids who did a lot of extra stuff and really wanted to excel in the sport.
So when I grew up, and I'm very old, but like wrestling, I think, didn't have a lot of the rules and restrictions or things that are more safety oriented for kids today. So I remember students having to cut so much weight to do that. How about you? When you started, were you part of that too, where safety wasn't as much a concern? It should be now. We're doing the right thing now.
Well, when I was in high school, they started with the weight certification process and hydration, and that was like a trial year. It was like my senior year, senior years. But now, obviously, on November 1st this year, we did like hydration certification. You can only wrestle at a minimum weight class of 7, where your body fat's 7%. When I was in high school, it was a little more relaxed, and even like a couple of years ago, it was a little bit more relaxed. But I was pretty disciplined with my weight. Like I said, I always did extras. So part of the reason of doing extras, besides obviously being in great shape and improving yourself, was get another workout in and you can eat a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I was usually pretty good with my weight. Not to throw any of my teammates under the bus in high school, but they weren't so good. After like a Saturday match, they'd just pig out and then they'd come in like 8-9 over, and when you kind of have to get back down, you do that over and over, and it really wears on you physically and more so mentally.
For sure.
Kids really struggle with that, but I was, for the most part, pretty disciplined. Like I said, I did extras. And you get a science down. I knew if I went to bed like 2 pounds over, I'd float a pound and a half in my sleep.
Yep.
And then, maybe have like a power bar for lunch, and I'd float another half pound off, and I'd be fine for weigh-ins.
Yeah, it's definitely. I always remember the heavyweights were always the happiest.
Right.
Yeah. My friends that were wrestlers in high school were always grouchy.
Right.
Not that our wrestlers are grouchy. We're not saying that. So talk to me a little bit about like wrestling at Hackensack, where you went to high school.
Yeah. So when I was about 4 or 5 years old, my brother is 4 years older than me, and he wrestled at the Hackensack Rec. So when I was like, a little one, I was running around the mats and stuff like that. And when I was about 5 or 6, I started to actually compete at Hackensack and do all the practices and stuff like that in the rec. Because I grew up in Rochelle Park, which sends to Hackensack High School. So I went through the whole rec process of Hackensack Junior Wrestling. They had a middle school team while I was there, and I was a part of their middle school team, even though I went to Midland School in Rochelle Park. And then I just walked right in, and being that I had been in the school so many times growing up, it wasn't as hard of a transition going from like a graduating class of like 40 kids to a graduating class of 500. Sure. Because I was familiar with the school, and I had friends from Hackensack and Maywood and other towns through wrestling. And I wrestled varsity wrestling 4 years at Hackensack, captain as a senior. And that was my path, really. And, it was positive. I had a great experience.
Yeah, no, it seems like for me, like when I went to college, I was passionate about certain aspects. I was a history teacher, so certain aspects about history, I really liked constitutional law, Bill of Rights, and those things. But I also loved coaching. Like that, to me, if someone asked me what I miss the most is the coaching aspect and the relationships with student athletes. So, what made you want to get into coaching?
I think if you're a competitor and you've like competed your whole life, especially in a sport like wrestling, where it's like 1v1 and it's the kind of mentality, the next best thing really is coaching from a competitive standpoint. I knew, later on in high school that I didn't want a job behind the desk all day. I wanted to be active. I always loved phys ed. It was by far my best class. I love sports, fitness, and obviously, training and things like that. And I knew I wanted to get into phys ed, which in part would get me into coaching as well. And I had great coaches when I was growing up. There were coaches and mentors that had a big impact on my life. And then I coached with people who were great mentors as well. I don't think people understand how much of an impact the coaches have on student athletes. It's tremendous, and it's an important job in our system.
Yeah. No, I think it's a privilege to be called coach.
Yeah.
It really is. It's something that you take very seriously. I did as well. It's an honor, and be able to mold student athletes, I think, is one of the most important jobs. It's really exciting. I go back to when I first started coaching. I coached football, basketball, baseball. I'm not allowed to do this anymore, but every year in football, I would suit up.
Right.
And I would, and you never see how happy the kids were to come after me and try to tackle me.
Right.
Do you do that in wrestling? Are you allowed to do that?
I do. No, I do.
Take them down and put them in full Nelson?
No, I will. I do roll with the kids a little bit. I used to do more so. My age is catching up with me a bit. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm 35 years old. This is my 14th year of coaching in high school. 11th as a head coach. So there's a lot of miles on like my back, for instance. My lower back has some injuries, but I still roll around and sometimes roll with the kids, go live. I mean, when you're one of the better kids in the room, you need someone to compete with. Yeah. And we have a great coaching staff. We have a lot of volunteers I brought in former wrestlers of mine who are seniors in college now. Greg Schlett, Ryan Romeo, these younger guys, for the reason of they can still roll around a lot. Yeah. It's a really good resource for us, and they want to give back because being here, being part of the program, it meant something to them, and they want to kind of pay that back.
That's like your legacy of kids, of students, of graduates coming back, right?
It means a lot, honestly.
It does.
It means you did something right.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. What's your core values as a coach? What do you hope to everybody get out?
Not everyone wins a state title, not everyone wins regions and districts and county titles, but if you come out of this with life lessons like, accountability, discipline, hard work, sacrificing things, those are all very important things for to be successful in the sport and doing extras. Yes. Sometimes in your career you have to do more than is expected. Maybe you don't get compensated for that, but it means a lot in the long run. And But yeah, I mean, showing up here on time, discipline, hard work, accountability is a big one. Those are all important parts of the program, and being part of a team. I know it's an individual sport, but there's a team aspect here, and like setting, having high standards, and everyone kind of works to those standards as a collective group is an important part of the program as well.
So I think back, now I'm 52, and what I would say to myself in high school, right? Things that I would have done differently. Is there anything that you would say that you wish, because you've coached for 14 years, and now you're going to go back to Hackensack, and you're like, boy, I wish I knew this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, because for 99.999% of high school wrestlers, like, their season ends with a loss. Besides the 14 kids who win the state title in the state of New Jersey, out of a lot of the kids, there's always like that regret. I mean, there's always like hindsight's 20/20, of course. I was probably a little too hard on myself back then, which can be a bad thing. Maybe overtrained a little bit, during my senior year when, like I was saying, like I always felt like I had to do two-a-days. I was like obsessed with being in shape, and not getting tired in the third year because that's important. But sometimes, that wears on you. Sometimes you need a day of rest. And sometimes, you need to chill out a bit because your body, overtraining is a real thing in athletics. And I've looked into the peaking and things like that as years have gone on. So probably do a little bit of things training-wise different. Maybe a little more self-belief too, because you can be hard on yourself and you knock yourself down a day. You need to have great self-belief to be successful at anything, for sure. Especially high school wrestling with a 1v1 kind of mentality.
No, the spotlight's on you. Everybody's watching.
Yeah. There's no one else to blame.
Nope. Fair enough. Early bird or night owl?
Probably early bird nowadays. That I'm a father and a 4-month-old at home, but early bird.
Fair enough. Heavy metal or hip hop?
Probably heavy metal. Metallica, big Metallica growing up.
So you come out. What is you guys come out to?
We come out to Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin.
So that's a little classic rock.
But what about this Good, the Bad, and the Ugly song that you guys come out to?
Yeah, that's Coach Pierce.
Yeah,
he likes the intro thing. I'm like, we have to cut this down a bit, maybe edit it, but I like the unique, and that's the thing with like high school wrestling, with like the run out songs, like there's a uniqueness to it, so I don't mind it necessarily.
No, that's fun. It's good.
Yeah.
It's definitely unique.
Yeah, it's a show a little bit. Like we want students to come out and watch the matches, the spotlight. We brought that. Made my 3rd or 4th year here, and that's like an element that draws people to watch and interest from students to try the sport out.
Italian food or Mexican food?
Italian.
Ping pong or foosball?
Ping pong.
Heavyweight or cardio workouts?
Yeah, weightlifting.
Lifting. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Any particular type of dog?
Not really. Yeah, students ask me all the time why I don't have a dog. I'm like, well, we like to go away in the summer. I don't want to dump it on my parents and stuff like that, but eventually in due time.
Summer or winter?
Winter. Wrestling's in the winter time. I just have my summer day.
Salty or sweet?
Go salty, savory. Yep.
Dunkin' or Starbucks?
Starbucks, I guess.
Home Depot or Lowe's?
I was at Home Depot yesterday, so I had to go home.
Okay. Are you a handy person? You like to do stuff around the house?
Yeah, I'm pretty handy. My father's very handy, so I pick
that's a
things up.
good skill to teach. Yeah, I've saved a lot of money by trying to do a lot of work.
It's like a challenge, so
Yes.
it's kind of like, you're halfway through, you're like scratching your head.
No, it takes me 10 more hours to do something, but it gets done.
Yep.
You always can YouTube everything.
That's true.
Yeah, skiing or snowboarding?
Neither, because they're during wrestling season, so I've never.
I'm a basketball guy, and I've never skied because of that same thing. Yeah.
I mean, I did some skateboarding growing up, so I probably have to go snowboarding.
I was worried about like tearing my ACL. I remember people like doing that. Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
I don't do either. I gotta figure this TikTok thing out. Christmas or Easter?
Christmas.
Yeah. Comments or Panthers?
Wow.
Oh.
Panthers definitely.
This is gonna be taped.
Yeah, Panthers definitely. Although there's always a sweet spot for
sure.
or soft spot for your alma mater. So,
fair
but
enough.
Panthers definitely.
Coach, I enjoyed it. Thank you
very
so
much.
much. Another episode here of Charleston in Charge with Coach Fitzpatrick, and unfortunately we're out of time because I am just about to wrestle him and take him down and probably pin him in 15 seconds, but we're out of time. So best of luck.
Thanks.
See you.